Hi guys, and welcome to the Korriban Archives, Star Wars, The Old Republic History. For those of you that don't know, the Korriban Archives is a Digital Goat podcast that will be launching on September 10th alongside 4 other podcasts and this YouTube channel. I am one of your hosts, Matthew Burt, and as I said on our last video, we're talking about everyone's favorite glow stick today, the lightsaber. I was going to do a longer video today that encompassed, the function of a lightsaber, how it's built, the different styles of lightsaber, and the 7 forms of lightsaber combat, but that would give you like a 37-minute video, and I'm quite frankly just not willing to talk that long, at least not without a co-host, and he's unavailable at the moment. But first and foremost, the lightsaber is, as Obi-Wan Kenobi told Luke, the weapon of a Jedi Knight. It's also the weapon of the Sith, however. That being said, Emperor Palpatine has stated that the Sith outgrew lightsabers not long after their introduction. They continue to use them, however, if only to humiliate the Jedi. The Sith, as a rule, would rather use Sith swords, but I'll talk about that in a later episode. So for those neophytes among us, just what is a lightsaber beyond the prop you see in the movies? Well, in the expanded universe, which is the universe outside of the movies, which this game takes place in, a lightsaber is a frozen blaster bolt. More complexly put, it's a solid beam of plasma held in place and cycled back into the hilt by a force field. That said, lightsabers haven't always been the single-handed weapons they are now. When the Jedi first realized how to freeze a laser bolt, the lightsaber was born, but they were little more than power-guzzling siege weapons and required a back-mounted power supply. This power supply didn't last long, and the lightsaber was more of a ceremonial weapon. Later, the Jedi developed a small, belt-mounted power supply. This transformed the lightsaber into an actual, useful weapon, but due to the power pack, some current feats of combat were impossible. The power pack was connected to the lightsaber by a power cord, so things like saber throw just weren't possible. It was the Sith, however, who eventually developed the hilt-mounted power supply and devised a way for the beam to constantly recharge the power cell. As such, the power cell only expends energy when a lightsaber cuts something. Even then, the solid beam of plasma doesn't burn much energy when it cuts, so the power cell can last for years, even centuries, without the need for more than a quick little 5-second zap. And that gets the proverbial motor started again in these lightsabers. Now that said, there are 3 main parts of a lightsaber that people need to concern themselves with, and I'm not talking about the blade, that's the business end. Namely, what I'm talking about are the power supply, which we've already addressed, the focusing and or color crystal, and the emitter lens. As I just said, we've already talked about the power supply, so we're not going to retread old ground. The crystals, however, are important. The crystals are what everyone focuses on, and for very good reason. Without the crystal to focus the plasma energy, the lightsaber wouldn't function properly and could even explode in your hand, and nobody wants to go through life as the Jedi nicknamed Lefty. There were, in the Old Republic, 2 main sources of naturally occurring lightsaber crystals, which the Jedi used more often than others. The Sith preferred to fashion their crystals themselves. You use a little furnace and your hate and some other stuff, and you get a nice little crystal. The resulting beam is stronger, but the lightsaber is highly unstable. These 2 crystal caves that I just previously mentioned were located on Dantooine and Ilum. Emperor Palpatine would eventually go on to close these down some, 3,000 years after the Old Republic game. This would prevent the Jedi from making new lightsabers, and they were fugitives at the time, if you remember Order 66. During this period of time, however, the Old Republic, there are 3 main colors of lightsaber crystal in use by the Jedi. Blue for Jedi Guardians, green for Jedi Consulars, and yellow for Jedi Sentinels. The Sith would frequently use red or violet crystals, as that tended to be the color that their self-created crystals would become. That also being said, Jedi weren't limited to these colors. They could pick and choose. It was a tradition for these types, forms, classes, if you will, of Jedi to use these particular colors. It was a way of saying, this is what I am, a badge. Now, I said there are 2 types of crystals earlier, color and focusing. The focus crystal adds properties to the lightsaber. One such variety used by the Jedi during the time of Revan, and this is not long after Darth Revan, was the Sigil crystal. This crystal was mined from the Sigil area of the galaxy, and it made the blade of a lightsaber more potent, and it inflicted some serious wounds upon the target when it cut. Effectively, it makes a lightsaber, quote, sharper, and it would cut deeper with less effort. This is basically the Star Wars version of a whetstone. Next is the lens. The focusing lens does exactly what it sounds like. It focuses the blade further along than the crystal does, and it gives the blade a termination point. Without this lens, the lightsaber being made of, well, light, would extend forever. Because light travels at 186,000 miles per second, and gravity could affect that, so if you were, say, in the maw, it would take a little longer, plus light can be bent, and this is getting a little tangential, and the math is killing me, so focusing lenses. Either way, these lenses tend to be made out of the same crystals as the lightsaber's focusing crystal is. This means that, of course, they will inherit certain properties native to the mother crystal. For example, the Adagan lens was made from the Adagan crystal. This blade was hyper-energized and could leave energy burns more severe than that of an unmodified lightsaber. I'm thinking the Sith would like this as a form of torture. So, there you have it. Put all these together along with some odds and ends, and you have a lightsaber. It's also generally known that the lightsaber first constructed by a Padawan learner, or a neophyte Jedi, was usually built to look like the one their master used. There was a meditation involved, where they trusted the Force to lead them to their crystal. The final assembly of the lightsaber was also done entirely using the Force, and this allowed for micro-adjustments to be made at the molecular level, which further enhances the already astounding power efficiency of the blade. This has been part 1 of lightsaber history, and part 2 will focus on the types of lightsabers that exist. Part 3 will explain the 7 forms of lightsaber combat common in the Old Republic. Please note that this will not cover Vapad, which was invented by Mace Windu at the close of the Republic, dawn of the Empire era. Thank you everybody for watching, and have a great day. We'll see you next time.